Hello everybody, today we're going to learn about factoring trinomials using slide method and grouping method. Now to give you the heads up early, again depending on your teacher, okay, these are two different style types of factoring a trinomial with these two different methods. So if your teacher prefers you use grouping method, you can kind of scroll ahead to grouping method. If your teacher does slide, then you might want to stay here, and then after slide is done, I would suggest you watch the grouping method. So now you would learn two ways to factor a trinomial with these methods. For my guys, you're watching the whole thing because I do teach using the slide. So here we go. All right, it says factor using slide. Okay. So when we do this, now unlike PS2, remember, when you did the PS2 method, and again, that's in another video, okay, a trinomial obviously means we have three pieces. But the PS2, remember, says we didn't have this 6 or this lead coefficient out in front of the quadratic. So in this case, because there's that lead coefficient, you cannot use PS2 method. So we are now forced to use these other methods. Starting in April, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So here we go. To do the slide, what you're going to do is we're going to start by multiplying the first coefficient with the constant, the last term. That includes the sign. So we're going to do the 6 times the negative 5. Okay? And that's going to give me a negative 30. Okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to put in our slide. Okay? So we're going to split the 6 with the x squared, and we're going to separate the negative 5. Oops, that kind of looked bad, so let me fix that. I don't like that. Okay, so we're going to take out the negative 5. Now at this point, a lot of students will say, well, what's going on with that? Believe it or not, the negative 5 at this point, we don't need anymore. We can throw that away. The 6 on the other, 6, again, we're going to need that for later, so don't throw that away. Okay? Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a mini PS2 here with our pieces that we have in here. Okay, so my product is going to be negative 30. The sum is going to be right here. Hold on, sum. It's going to be the negative 1. That's right here. Okay, so then we do our PS2. So two numbers that multiply to 30 but subtract to 1 is going to be negative 6. And positive 5. Okay, so we're going to set up our parentheses with these terms. We're going to have x minus 6 and x plus 5. Now, here's where the confusing part comes in, and this is where students often lose points because they forget about this step. Okay? We have a nifty little saying that says, since we did the slide, we have to divide. So, again, that's where this 6 now comes back into play. We're going to take this 6 and we're going to divide it by these two numbers that we just found. So divide by 6, divide by 6. Now, what we want to do is reduce the fractions if we can. So like in this case, negative 6 over 6 is x minus 1. But in the case of the 5 over 6, I can't do anything with that. I can't reduce. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the 6 and we're going to scooch it in front of the x. So 6x plus 5. And that is the answer, and that is how it is factored. Okay? All right, let's look at another one. And again, I'll go a little slower again with this one so we can talk. Okay. So first thing we do, we've got 3 pieces with a leader in front. Okay, so there's our 3. So we have our 3 pieces, a leader in front, so I cannot use PS2. I'm forced to use the slide. So to start, we're going to multiply the front term by this back term. So 3 times negative 10 is, 3 times positive 10 is positive 30. Okay, now we're going to set up our slide. So we split the 3 and the x squared and split this positive 10 off. And again, I don't need this anymore, so it can go away. So we're going to start. Up here is my product. We can do our mini PS2. Product is positive 30. My sum is right here. So the sum, negative 17. So my two numbers that multiply to 30 but add to 17 are going to be 15 and 2. But don't forget, I need a negative 17, so they're both negative. All right, so I'm going to drag this stuff in. We're going to have x minus 15, x minus 2. And again, if you had the 15 and the 2 in opposite positions, perfectly fine. That's still correct. Now, here's the big part. Again, we did the slide, which means I have to divide. So that's where this beginning 3 comes back into play. So we're going to divide by the 3's. And now I'm going to try to reduce these fractions. Now, nicely enough for us, 15 over 3 reduces to 5. So that's x minus 5. Now here, 2 over 3, I can't do anything with 2 over 3. So we're going to take the 3 and we're going to scooch it in front of the x. We're going to have 3x minus 2. And there it is, all done. All right, so we're going to practice this a little bit. So let's go to the next slide. All right, so let's practice these a little bit here. Okay, so here we go. So first thing I notice, I have 3 pieces. I have a number in front of x squared, which means I cannot use PS2. I have to use the slide. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the first piece with the last piece. So 2 times negative 35, that's negative 70. Okay, now we're going to put in our slide. So I'm going to split the 2 and the x squared. Cut off the negative 35. That can go away. I'm not interested in that. And we're going to do our mini PS2. So your product, negative 70. The sum is negative 3. So my two numbers that multiply to 70 but subtract to 3 is going to be positive 10, or correction, 10 and 7, right? Because 10 and 7 subtract to 3. Now we have to be careful of our signs, though. I want negative 3. So since this is negative, that tells me the largest piece is going to be negative. This has to be the positive. And again, if you're not sure, do your check. Remember? So negative 10 times 7 is negative 70. Negative 10 plus 7 is negative 3, so you know you're right. Remember, if you do the check and you don't get these numbers again, then something's wrong and you need to go back and fix it. All right, so now let's put this together. X minus 10, x plus 7. Now here's the important part, and don't forget this. Since you did the slide, you have to divide. So we're going to divide by this lead term of 2. So we're going to reduce the fractions. 10 over 2 is 5, so x minus 5. Now the 7 over 2 I can't do anything with, so we're going to scooch that in front of the x. So 2x plus 7. And there's that one. All right, let's look to the next one. Okay. So again, starting the process, check. Do I have 3 pieces? Yes. Do I have a number in front of x squared? Yes. So I cannot use PS2. I have to use the slide. Okay, so we're going to multiply the first term with the last term. Actually, let me fix that. I don't like that. All right, let's try that again. Multiply the first term with the last term. And when I do that, I get positive 21. All right, let's put in our slides. Split 3 in the x squared. Split off the positive 7, and you don't need that anymore, so you can throw it away. And we start our PS2. Your product is right here, the thing you just multiplied with, so you get positive 21. The sum, the S value, is right here, so the S, positive 22. So the two numbers that multiply to 21 but add to 22, again, remember your multiples of the product here. A lot of students will say, gee, I don't know what that is. Well, sometimes it's the easiest one of all. 1 and 21 adds to 22. So it'll be positive 1 and positive 21. All right, so let's put our parentheses up. X plus 1, X plus 21. And now don't forget, since we did the slide, we have to divide by our lead term. So divide by 3, divide by 3. Now again, 1 over 3 I cannot reduce, so I'm going to scooch this 3 in front of the x. 3x plus 1. 21 over 3 is 7, so that goes down nicely as x plus 7. And there it is. All done. Again, like I said, the most difficult part, the most common thing student gets wrong with the slide method is they always forget this part. They always forget that they have to divide. So you got to be careful with that. All right, so let's move on. All right, let's factor again. We'll practice using the slide here. And again, if you want to start working ahead of me, you can. Again, I'll take this a little slower so you guys can get a head start, and then I'll slowly catch up behind you. Or again, if you want to pause the video, do the problems out, and then hit play afterwards, you're more than welcome to do that. Hey, Gwen. Yeah, they're finding sneakers, huh? Yeah. All right. So let's start off. Okay, so let's start. Okay, let's multiply. First, start our questions. Do I have 3 pieces? Yes. Do I have a number in front of the x squared? Yes. So we're going to multiply the front to the back. Oh, thank you, Gwen. That's a 0. Very nice. So 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Okay. So let's put in our slide. Split the 4 in the x squared. Let's cut off the negative 3. Make it go away. You don't need it. Now let's start. Our product is right here. Negative 12. The sum is going to be the positive 11. The two numbers that make both P and S true, so two numbers that multiply to 12 but subtract to 11 would be 12 and 1. And you want a positive 11 here, so it's going to be positive 12 and negative 1. Now, like I said, if you're not sure, do your check. 12 times negative 1 is negative 12. 12 minus 1 is positive 11, so you know you're good. That's a parenthesis up. X plus 12, x minus 1. And now don't forget, since we did the slide, we have to divide. Okay. So now, let's reduce the fractions. 12 over 4 reduces to 3, x plus 3. 1 over 4 does not reduce, so we're going to scooch the 4 in front of the x. So 4x minus 1. And there's that one. Okay, all right, let's go to this other one. Scooch this. All right. So let's start up. I'll leave that here so you guys can see it. All right, so let's start. Start with our questions. Do I have 3 pieces? Yes. Is there a number in front of x squared? Yes. So we can't use PS2. We have to do the slide. So we're going to multiply front to back. So 2 times -1 is -2. All right, so let's put it in our slide. I'm going to split the 2 and the x squared. I'm going to cut off the -1. Don't need it. And we start. Our product, -2. Now be careful here. Our sum is not x. Remember, there's a 1 hiding here. That's what I'm interested in. So sum is +1. So my two numbers that multiply to 2 but subtract to 1 are again 2 and 1. Now the signs to give me a +1 are +2 and -1. So let's do this up. X plus 2, x minus 1. Now don't forget, since we do the slide, we have to divide. Okay, so we're going to have x plus, now 2 over 2 is 1. Now 1 over 2 I can't do anything with, so I'm going to scooch that 2 in front of that x and get 2x minus 1. And boom, there's that one. So there we go. All right, so let's keep moving forward. All right, now let's talk about grouping method. Okay, some teachers don't like the slide. They would prefer to use the grouping method. So if your teacher is that way, and again, my guys, you should be watching this too, because now you'll know 2 different ways to factor this trinomial. So we're going to start just like we did with the slide method. Okay, so we start with our 2 questions. Do I have 3 pieces? The answer is yes. Do I have a number in front of x squared? The answer is yes. So we cannot use PS2. We have to use the slide. And again, if you don't know what PS2 is, check out my earlier video on PS2 method. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start the same way you did the slide. So you're going to multiply the front and the back. And we're going to get -30. Okay. Now, here's what's going to happen is we are going to set up kind of some spaces here. And we're going to rewrite this part. Here, let me show you. So we're going to reset the problem. 6x squared dash x minus 5. Now, the reason why I did lines here is because what we're going to do now is we're going to do our PS2. Okay, we're going to do kind of our slide still. We're going to split this off now. And we're going to do our PS2. But the 2 numbers I get from my PS2, that's what goes on these lines. Okay. So in doing so, my product is going to be the -30. So product, -30. My sum in this case is right here. It's not the x. My sum is going to be the -1. And then we think, well, what 2 numbers multiply to 30 but subtract to 1? Okay, it's going to be 6 and 5. Because multiply to 30, subtract to 1 is 6 and 5. And we want -1 from all this. So it's going to be -6 and +5. Now, again, like I've said, when you're doing the PS2, you should always double check your numbers. So let's do a quick check. -6 times 5 is -30. -6 plus 5 is -1, so you know you're good. If you say no just one time to any of those 2 questions, something's wrong and you need to fix it. So these 2 numbers here are what's going to go on these lines. So and it doesn't matter the order. So I'm going to do -6, +5. Okay. Now, like I said, if you did the +5 here and then -6 here, perfectly okay. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to use grouping method. So what we're going to do is we're going to group up around the first and second piece, the third and the fourth piece. And what we're going to do is we're going to kind of do this now. Line, parenthesis, line, parenthesis. Now, what's going to go on these lines is the GCFs of each parenthesis. Okay, so here's where it's going to get a little tricky, so you got to follow very closely here. My pen just shut off. All right, so let's start. Let's look in this first parenthesis. Take out GCF. What common things does the first parenthesis share that I can divide out? Well, I can take out a 6, because both these 6's are divisible by 6. And I can take out at least one x. So now I'm going to divide the 6x squared minus 6x by 6x. So 6x squared divided by 6x is just x. Negative 6x divided by 6x is negative 1. All right, now for the second part. We are going to take the GCF out of this parenthesis. So looking at my numbers between 5 and negative 5, I can take out a 5. X with nothing here, I can't take out x's, so I can just leave it as a 5. But here's the catch. I need this parenthesis to match this one. So by taking out just a 5, am I going to do it? Well, let's divide and find out. 5x divided by 5 is just x. Negative 5 divided by 5 is negative 1. So the question is, do these parentheses match? The answer is yes. Okay, so now that my parentheses match, we're in the final stages of this process. Okay, so we start. We're going to have two parentheses in the end, just like we did before. Okay. Now the first parenthesis is the garbage that was inside the parentheses. And you only have to list it just once. So x minus 1. Okay, the reason being is technically we're taking out the GCF of these guys, which is the x minus 1 because it's shared by both parts. Oh, sorry, that should be a plus here. I forgot the plus. So this is now used up. The second parenthesis, all the garbage on the outside left over. So in this case, you're going to have 6x plus 5. And there's that. Okay. Now, so we're going to take, I'm going to shrink this, kind of move it over a little bit here. And let's do the next one. Okay, let me throw a line in here. Okay. So again, let's do this next one. Let's take it rather easy because we're, again, new thing. So let's take it slow. All right, so first off, start with our basic questions. Does it have 3 pieces? Yes. Do we have a leader in front of the square? Yes. So we have to use grouping method here. So we're going to start. I'm going to multiply the front with the back. And 3 times 10 is positive 30. Okay, so now we're going to reset our problem. 3x squared dash x plus 10. So we're taking this and we're kind of splitting this up. And this is where we apply our PS2. Product right here. My sum right here. All right, so the two numbers that make the P and the S true, sorry. So what two numbers multiply to 30 but add to 17 would be 15 and 2. Now be careful though. We wanted negative 17. So to give me negative, both these guys have to be a negative. Negative 15 minus 2 is negative 17. Negative 15 plus negative 2, that's negative 17. Negative 15 times negative 2 is 30. So these two numbers, the negative 15 and the negative 2, go on the lines. All right, so now let's group these up. First and second, third and fourth. So we're going to do line, parenthesis, line, parenthesis. All right, so start. Take out GCF in the first parenthesis. Common multiple GCF would be a 3 and an x. So 3x squared divided by 3x is x. Negative 15x divided by 3x is negative 5. All right, for the second one, what can I take out of this? Well, first off, the numbers I see a 2. And then this has an x and this doesn't, so I can't take GCF of x. But here's where I got to be careful. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative x. 10 divided by 2 is positive 5. But remember what I said. These parentheses have to match. They don't. So, but noticing, I have an x, I have a negative x. I have a negative 5, I have a positive 5. So they're the same except for this one over here has a negative 1 that we've got to take care of. So if I make this a negative 2 instead of a positive 2, then these signs change over. And now they match. Okay, sometimes you've got to watch for that. All right, so now set up your two parentheses. So our lead piece is going to be x minus 5. That's what's in the parentheses. That's what's shared, so that's good. Second parentheses, all the garbage on the outside left over. So 3x minus 2. And there's your factored result. Okay? All right, let's move on. Let's practice grouping method. All right, so here we go. Scooch this down. All right, let's take a look at this first one. So start with your basic questions. Do I have 3 pieces? Yes. Do I have a number in front of the x squared? Yes. So I have to use the grouping method. Cannot use PS2. So let's multiply front to back. I'm going to get negative 70. Okay. So let's set up our question. So 2x squared dash x minus 35. All right, so now we're going to do our PS2 here. My product is right here, negative 70. My sum is right here, so that's negative 3. So what two numbers multiply to 70 but subtract to 3 is going to be 10 and 7. But I need negative 3 from these two numbers. So negative 10 and positive 7 would do that. All right, so let's quickly double check that. Negative 10 times 7 is negative 70. Negative 10 plus 7 is negative 3. So I'm good. I've got what I need. So those two numbers, negative 10, positive 7, go on the lines. All right, let's group this up. First and second, third and fourth. Line, parenthesis, line, parenthesis. All right, let's start taking out GCF, greatest common factor. So starting in the first parenthesis, between 2 and 10, I can take out a multiple of 2. Between x squared and x, I can take out an x. So 2x squared divided by 2x is just x. Negative 10x divided by 2x is just negative 5. All right, let's take a look at the next parenthesis. 7x minus 35. Let's start with the numbers. Between 7 and 35, what common thing that can we divide out? That would be a 7. Now with the x's, this has an x. This one doesn't have an x, so I can't take out any x's. So 7x divided by 7 is x. Negative 35 divided by 7 is negative 5. So there you have it. Okay, and these parentheses match. Very important, so we can keep this as a plus 7. All right, let's finish this thing off. Our two parentheses, our lead pieces are x minus 5s. Second parentheses, all the garbage left over on the outside. So 2x plus 7. Oops, 7. And there you go. There's that one. All right, so I'm going to kind of shrink this and scooch it over here a little bit. Hey, I don't know what I just did. There we go. That's better. All right, so here we go. So let's take a look at this next one. I'm going to throw a line in there. Now, again, if you want to work ahead of me a little bit, see if you can practice this, that's great. If you'd like to just pause the video and try this one out and then unpause it and I'll work it through with you so you can see how this works, that'd be great too. Or if you just want to sit back and watch, you can. All right, so let's start with our questions. Do I have 3 pieces? Yes. Do I have a number in front of the x squared? Yes. So I have to use grouping. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do, multiply front to back. So 3 times 7 is positive 21. Okay. So let's reset our problem. Again, we're going to change this out for our lines. So 3x squared dash x plus 7. Okay. So now let's do our PS2. Product positive 21. I got that from this. My sum is right there. So my sum is positive 22. So the two numbers that make P and S2, what two numbers multiply to 21 but add to 22? Sometimes it's the easiest numbers in the world. Think of your multiples. 1, 21. That multiplies to 21, and they add to 22. So it's 1 and 21. So, and I need positive 22, so plus and plus. Okay. So let's put those on the line. Plus 1 plus 21. Okay, now we're going to do parenthesis up around first and second, third and fourth. Okay, so let's set up our parenthesis, line, parenthesis stuff. All right, let's take out GCF. From this first parenthesis, let's start with the numbers. Between 3 and 1, can I take out any numbers other than 1? The answer is no, I really can't. So I can put a 1 there if I want to. Okay. Now between x squared and x, I can take out an x. And just to let you know, I am going to get rid of that 1 because I really don't need it there. So that's going to leave me 3x plus 1. Now for the second parenthesis, let's take a look at this. Greatest common factor between 21 and 7. What can I take out? Well, I can take out a 7. Okay. Now between x and nothing here, I can't take any x's out. So that's going to leave me 21x divided by 7 is 3x. Now don't forget this part. 7 divided by 7 does not go away. It turns to 1. Okay, now let's look at our parentheses. Does this match this? It does, so I can keep this as a plus 7. All right, so let's set up our parentheses. Okay, our lead term, 3x plus 1. Get rid of those. Second parentheses, all the garbage left over, so x plus 7. And there you have it. It's all done. All right, let's move it on. Okay, let's do another set of grouping. Okay, so at this point, you should be kind of working ahead of me a little bit or pausing the video and doing the problem out and then watching afterwards to see how you're doing. All right, so here we go. Let's start this one. Let's multiply front to back because I've got 3 pieces. I've got a leader in front of the square, so I have to use grouping. So that's going to be minus 12. All right, so let's set it up. 4x squared dash x minus 3. All right, let's do our PS2. My product is negative 12. My sum is positive 11. All right, my two numbers that multiply to 12 but subtract to 11 are going to be 12 and 1. Now my signs to give me positive 11 are positive 12 and negative 1. So these two numbers are what goes on the line. Positive 12, negative 1. All right, so now let's parenthesis up. First and second, third and fourth. Line parenthesis, line parenthesis. Okay, so let's start. Take out GCF. What do these first parentheses share? Multiple 4 and 12, I can kick out a 4. Between x squared and x, I can take out an x. So 4x squared divided by 4x is just x. 12x divided by 4x is just 3. Because 3 times 4x is 12x. All right, now, let's go to the other one. Negative x minus 3. So between looking at my 1 and 3, I can't take anything out, so I'm going to throw a 1 on the line. Between x and nothing here, I can't take out x's. But if I'm dividing these pieces by 1, I get negative x minus 3. And remember, these have to match. But they don't right now. So let's take a look. I have x, negative x. I have positive 3, negative 3. Same pieces, just opposite signs. So if I take out a negative 1 over here, this now will become x and plus 3. Now they match. All right, so here we go. X plus 3 is our common piece. Second parentheses, all the garbage on the outside. So we have 4x minus 1. And there's our parenthesis, our grouping. All right, let's look at the next one. All right, so here we go. Whoops. All right, so start with our questions. Do I have 3 pieces? Yes. Do I have a number in front of the square? Yes, that I kind of just ran over here. Okay. So, since I have that, I have to start by grouping. So multiply the front to the back, and I get negative 2. All right, so let's reset. 2x squared dash x minus 1. All right, let's go to our PS2. Product is right there, so product is negative 2. Now sum, be very careful here. It's not x, it's the 1 in front of the x. Sum is positive 1. So what two numbers multiply to 2 but subtract to 1 are 2 and 1. Signs to give me positive 1 is going to be positive 2 and negative 1. Now, if you're not sure of this, do your check. Is 2 times negative 1 negative 2? Yes. Is 2 minus 1 positive 1? Yes. So we know we're good. So I'm going to put those positive 2 minus 1 on the line. All right, let's group this up. First, second, third, fourth. So here we go. So let's set it up. Dash parenthesis, dash parenthesis. Okay, so let's start. What can I take from this first grouping? So between 2 and 2, I can take out a 2. Between x squared and x, I can take an x. So dividing 2x squared by 2x, that's just x. 2x divided by 2x is positive 1. All right, let's look here. So now, between 1 and 1, I can take out a 1. Doesn't do anything. With x and nothing here is I can't take out an x. But again, as most of you probably now see, I had x plus 1 here. I have negative x minus 1. If I take the negative 1 out now, these now match. So again, if you see it earlier, do it. Take care of business. All right, so let's parenthesis up. Okay, so my first lead is the x plus 1. Second parentheses, all the garbage left over. And there you have it. Okay. All right, let's keep going. All right, now, factor using any method, don't forget GCF. All right, so for this first one, I'm going to use the slide. For those of you who did the slide, let's do the slide. And then the second one, I will use grouping. Okay, but one big thing I wanted to highlight here is don't forget about greatest common factor. Make your life a lot easier. Because right now, if I multiply 8 and 20, that's 160. There's a lot of factors there. Okay, so let's start up. I have 3 pieces. I got a leader in front. But looking for greatest common factor between 8x squared, 44x, and 20, I have a GCF of 4. I can take that out and make this now 2x squared minus 11x plus 5. That certainly is a lot better than dealing with 8 with 160. So now, just like with GCF in PS2 factoring video, again, we're going to put this in a red balloon. We're going to make it float away a while, so they all float down here. And we're going to ignore this. We're focused solely in here. Okay, so we go back to our questions. Do I have 3 pieces? Yes. Do I have a number in front of the square? Yes. So I'm going to start by multiplying front to back. So 2 times 5 is going to give me positive 10. Now, like I said, here I'm going to use the slide method. And again, if you don't like the slide or you weren't interested in the slide, you can still factor this using grouping. It's, again, you would just do it your way. The answer will be the same. So again, I'm going to split the 2 in the x squared. I'm going to split off the negative 5, and I'm going to throw that away. I don't need it anymore. And then we're going to do our PS2. So my product is positive 10. My sum is negative 11. Two numbers that multiply to 10 but add to 11 is going to be 10 and 1. But I needed negative 11, so they both have to be negative. So we're going to have x minus 10, x minus 1. And now we're going to bring this balloon back now and park the 4 in front of the parenthesis. Now don't forget though, we're doing the slide method. Since we did the slide, we have to divide. But a lot of the students say, what do I use? I've got this 4 over here, I got this 2, I got this 8 up there. Where do I go? You go with the piece that you did the slide with. So in this case, it is the 2 here. And I do not divide by the GCF. I only do the pieces that went into the parentheses. Okay, so we're going to have 4. That keeps coming with us. Now 10 over 2 reduces to 5, so we're going to have x minus 5. 1 over 2, I can't reduce it, so I scooch that as 2x minus 1. And there's your answer. And yes, you have to have this, or you're going to lose points. Mathematicians like to be able to go back to the beginning of the problem. If they work this equation backwards, they get here. If you don't include the 4, you only get this piece here. Okay, and that's not the original problem. So you have to include it or you will lose some points on your test. All right, let's do the slide method or grouping method over here. I promised everybody grouping. Okay, now do I have 3 pieces? Yes. Do I have a number in front of the square? Yes, I do. So I cannot use PS2. I have to use grouping. Now, looking at my numbers, though, you would think, well, 6, 13, and 6, there's no multiple there that I can take out. And you said there was a GCF. I did, because don't forget that anytime you factor, your lead term cannot be negative. So we have to factor out a -1 as the GCF, making this 6x squared plus 13x plus 6. Now, just like with the slide method with the GCF, we're going to put this in a big red balloon. We're going to make it float away for a while. Again, they all float down here. And now, let's go do our slide. Or grouping, sorry. Multiply front to back. I get plus 36. Okay. So, I'm going to do negative. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that just as yet. Let me get rid of that. So we're going to do 6x squared dash x plus 6. Okay, and we're going to do our PS2. Product, positive 36. Our sum is positive 13. All right, two numbers that multiply to 36 but add to 13 are 9 and 4. My signs both positive. So plus 9 plus 4. All right, so it's parenthesis up. Okay, so now at this point, take out line, line. Okay, so between 6 and 9, what can I take out that they share? Is a multiple of 3. Okay, and between x squared and x, I can take out an x. So 3x squared divided by 3x is going to be 2x. 9x divided by 3x is plus 3. Now in the second parenthesis, we'll take GCF out. So between 4 and 6, I can take out a 2. Between x and nothing here, I can't take out anything. So 4x divided by 2 is 2x. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And now, since these parentheses match, I'm going to make that a plus 2. So now, here's where this is going to come back. Okay. The -1 that I took out way in the beginning now comes back. -1. Common piece here. 2x plus 3. All the garbage left on the outside. 3x plus 2. And there it is. Okay. All right, let's keep moving. Okay. Now, we are going to see stuff like this too, with an extra variable on the end. Now, again, it is still the same methodology. We're not changing anything. We're going to ignore the variables because we ignore them most of the way, and then I'll show you what to do at the very end. All right, so here we go. Let's start. Can I take GCF out of all this? Well, this has an X, this has an X, this doesn't. This has a Y, this has a Y, but that doesn't. So I can't take out GCF. I've got 3 pieces with a leader in front of the square. So I'm going to use the slide on this one. Okay, so I'm going to multiply front to back. I get -24. Okay, so now at this point, let's set up our slide. So I'm going to split the 3 and the x squared. I'm going to cut away the -8. And again, but I'm not going to completely throw it away because I need the y squared here. So I'm just going to kind of do this. And we do our PS2. Product, -24. Sum, +2. Not the xy, we're not interested in it, just the numbers right now. So the two numbers that multiply to 24 but subtract to 2, 6 and 4, +2 and -4. x plus 6x minus 4. Now, since we did the slide, we have to divide by the lead term, which was 3. So, 6 over 3 reduces to 2. And again, I'm going to leave a little space here, and I'll show you why in a minute. 4 over 3 cannot be reduced. Oh, my pen shut off again. So I'm going to send the 3 this way. So 3x minus 4. And again, leave a little space. Now, to take care of the extra variable, okay, notice how in the beginning we had x squareds and x's. We've been playing with that this whole time. And what did we do? We put x and x in the front. So to deal with y squared and y, if we put the x's in the front, to get y squared and y, we put the y's in the back. And if you were to multiply this out, x times 3x is 3x squared. X times negative 4y is negative 4xy. 2y times 3x is positive 6xy. And 2y times negative 4 is negative 8y squared. And then combine your like pieces, you get back to where we started. Okay, so to take care of the y's in the back, you just tack on the y's in the back, just like we did with the x's being in the front. It's not a big deal. Okay, all right, let's do this other one. On this one, I'll use grouping method. So first things first, looking at this thing, can I take GCF? And the answer is yes, I can. Between 6, 10, and 56, I can take out a 2. Notice my x is cube squared x. I can take out an x. Leaving me 3x squared minus 5xy minus 28y squared. All right, now we're going to put this in a big red balloon. We're going to make it float away for a while. Again, but they all float down here. And we're going to focus solely here. So do I have 3 pieces with a leader in front of the square? The answer is yes. So let's use our grouping. Multiply front to back. 3 times 28. That's going to be 84. Yeah. All right. So let's do our PS2. Product negative 84. Sum negative 5. And I should make that look more negative. There we go. So the two numbers that multiply to 84 but subtract to 5. I'll do this one because this video is getting pretty long. Negative 12, positive 7. Okay, so we're going to reset this, right? So we're going to have 3x squared. Now, xy is here now. Minus 28y. Oh, I got to fix that. That's not going to work. Here, let me shrink it. No, if I shrink it, it'll be easier, right? Okay, so let me fix this. There we go. Better. All right, so let's go back. xy minus 28y squared. Okay, so we're going to put the negative 12, positive 7 on the line. We're going to group it up, and we're going to take out our GCFs. Okay, so here in this first parenthesis, I can take out an x. Well, between 3 and 12, actually I can take out, they look like a 4. Let me fix that. That needs to be better. There we go, that's better. All right, let's try that again. So taking out GCF in the first parenthesis, so go line, parenthesis, line, parenthesis. So I can take out a 3. Between x squared and xy, I can take out an x. This leaves me x minus 4y. Now the second parenthesis, 7 and negative 28, I can take out a positive 7. xy and y squared, well, I can go after the y's here and kick out the y. That'll leave me 7xy divided by 7y is just x. Negative 28y squared divided by 7y. Well, negative 28 divided by 7 is negative 4. Y squared divided by y is just y. So now, do these match? Yes, they do. So, x minus 4y. And don't forget about this guy way up here at the beginning. It's easy to forget. It's got to come back now. 2x. And now the second parentheses, all the garbage left over. So you're going to have 3x plus 7y. And there it is. All done. All right, so we've reached the end of this video. A lot to digest. And again, I would suggest, practice a few of these. Try the different methods. See which one you like the best. But don't forget to go with what your teachers say. Some teachers will say it doesn't really matter which method you use. It's all comes down to which way you like the best. That's how I teach. But some teachers are pretty persistent that you have to use a specific way. And if that be the case, use that teacher-specific way. I don't want you getting it wrong or saying, well, G said I could use this method, because if you're in Nebraska or California and I'm in New Hampshire, they're not going to know who I am. So again, just keep that in mind. So again, good luck. I hope you learned a lot, and I will see you in the next video.